Alright, welcome guys, another Simply Coding tutorial, building a fun little game. So, I played this game on my phone called Archero, I don't know, they kept showing me ads so I downloaded it. It was actually pretty cool. But one of the things I liked, and the reason why I want to do a little video series and kind of recreate some of the cool things they had in there, was you didn't have to select the person you were shooting at, and it just kind of fired on its own. All you had to worry about was moving around and avoiding stuff trying to shoot you. So the way that it worked is if you were paused, not moving, your guy would fire bullets, and he would fire at the closest enemy, I think, but he was firing at an enemy. And if he was walking around, you weren't shooting anything. And then there was all sorts of power-ups. But I wanted to recreate a little bit of what and how they did that. So I have this game right here. If you look at my code, this is the code from the beginnings of the Zelda. If this doesn't make sense, if you haven't ever seen a 2D array before, you can go back and watch the Zelda video, and I explain the whole thing, and we build a few of them. But I want to build our guy shooting if he's holding still, and not shooting if he's moving around. So let's do it. What I want to do first is I want to say, okay, let's create a little set interval function. I'm going to name this set interval function blast. So we'll have a set interval function, and this set interval function is going to run twice a second. Maybe that's a good amount of time, I don't know. But for now, we're going to test it out. Twice a second, and all I want it to do is call a new function. I haven't made that function. We'll call that function shoot, and I need to give that function some information. One, it needs to know our player object, it needs to know our player's X position, and it needs to know our player's Y position. That way we can shoot where our player's at, and not just from some place in the game. Okay, so we have this interval function, and it wants to run a function named shoot, so let's create that function. Okay, so we have function shoot, and I need to gather, we'll just call this player X, player Y, and we need an if statement to control this, because there's times we want it to shoot, there's times we don't want it to shoot. So we're going to do, as long as fire is equal to true, then we will allow this guy to shoot. These tabs are all off. Hold on, tabs 2, perfect. Okay, so up at the top here, I forgot we hadn't created that variable. There we go. Fire is true to begin with, and as long as it stays true, we will be firing. Okay, now it's the boring part. Well, we got to build out the object. So I think I called it throwing star.png. Yes, I believe that's correct. Okay, so we give it a type so that it can interact with other objects. We need to, well, what else we need to do? Set its size. Let's make it 30 by 30. We need to move it. Ah, yes, that's why we put these in. We're just gonna, wherever the player is, that's where we want that to go. Hopefully I spelled these right. Player X, player Y. Okay, so after we move it, we can't have any friction because this thing just needs to go forever until it runs into something we don't like. And then for now, we're just gonna push it up. We're just gonna send it flying straight ahead. But eventually, when we get enemies in the game, we're gonna find who's the closest one, which took me a while and was some interesting math. And I had to dive deep into some old formulas I found online, but I got it. And so we'll do that, and we'll shoot whoever's closest. It's gonna be fun. Okay, so we have this, and this is enough built out. Let's see if he'll just shoot every 5 seconds. Okay, we did it. And if he's walking around, he's still shooting. So we don't want him to be shooting when we're walking around. So let's think, how would we do that? And why can it go through trees? Let's make him not go through trees. Like a man that can walk through trees. There we go. What was I gonna say? Okay, so we need to change it to false while anytime we're moving. Oh, I just said false and type true. So I'm going to copy this, and we're going to put this right here. We're going to put it right here. We're going to put it right there. Okay, so let's save it. So now, what are we expecting? It's always good to write the code and then say, what am I expecting? When I hit refresh, he should start firing, and then when I move him, he should stop. Perfect. So our if statement is working. What that did is that proved this if statement is done correctly. And fire has gone from true to false. So now how do we get it true again? So first you got to say, when do we want it true? We want it true when we stop moving or when we release a key. So there's a great JavaScript function. Window has all sorts of great things you can do with it. And so we need to add a listener event. So we're going to go add, it's actually an event, listener. And where you want to listen, there's lots of things you can listen for, but we want to listen for a key up. And when that happens, we're going to run a function. Now a lot of these you'll see we have E. E is going to represent, what you do is you go if e.keycode, that's going to represent the event. So if e.keycode is equal to our write key. Now remember, write key is actually a numerical value. This right here is a numerical value that we have assigned in our library. It's just the computer doesn't know it as the write key, it knows it as number 56 or something. I don't know exactly which number. But we need to make an OR statement for every key that we could possibly release where we want to make fire back equal to true. Okay, so when that happens, we want fire back equal to true, and we have our write key. Let's go left, we have the up key we need to do, and we have the downser. So let's go down. File, save, bam. Okay, so he's shooting. I move around. He stops shooting. We did it. I stop, he starts again. I stop, he starts again. He is under my control. That's why coding's fun. It has to do exactly what you're saying. It makes mistakes too, but very accurate mistakes. Okay, so the only real thing we need to do now is, I'll just make a new onHit function, is let's make this onHit function between the arrow and the, we'll do balls of these. This whole thing just looks nice to steal. And so if the arrow hits the bottom screen or the wall, what we want to happen is X will become destroyed. We will destroy. Yes, that worked. It hits the wall and it stops. Chinese stars should not go through trees, which are called walls in this game. And what would happen if we did y.destroy? So while I'm doing this video series, I'm going to be checking it a lot more often. I want you guys to see the flow, see the development, how it's all happening. What happens if we did something a little bit different? See right now, well, he's only shooting enough, but right now we can take out this whole level because we did y.destroy. Again, the computer is accurate. It does exactly what I tell it to. So we know that X represents the arrow, Y represents the bottom screen and the wall. And again, if some of this code that was already in here did not make sense, you watch the Zelda series. But that's as far as I wanted to go in this video. This one's a short one. And I wanted you to see how to shoot when you're walking and not shoot. The other way around. Reverse that. How to shoot when you're holding still and how to not shoot while he's walking around, just like Archero, or I don't know how to actually say that. So again, to find this video and all the other ones we've made, if you go to simplycoding.org and head under kids and go to coding demo videos. We also have the Code Dungeon, which has lots of cool games kids have built. There's going to be all sorts of games here. Here's all the Zelda ones. It's loading slow because I'm on the video. We got Ski Game. But anyway, I will post this video right here, and I'm going to do a series. The next one is we're going to put some enemies in the game, and how do we make him target the enemy that's closest to us? And then after that, we'll add some other things, and it'll be fun. Okay, if you have any ideas for me, send them my way. But yeah, that Archero game was very fascinating, how it worked programming-wise, and so I wanted to build in some of the cool aspects about it. All right, thanks guys. We will see you next time.